This is a follow-up review for my Winchester 500XS air rifle with a new scope on it. The scope I used in the last video had some problems, and because of that the grouping was bigger than it could have been. This gun's capable of better groupings than it showed in that review. This is the new scope. It's made by Leapers. It's a really good scope. Has a mil-dot range estimating reticle and has range estimating AO. It's very solidly built, and it's one of its true strength line of scopes. It takes the recoil of this rifle very well, but that doesn't really say much because this air rifle only shoots at 490 feet per second. But the only adjustment I've ever had to make, even after like 100 shots, is one click, and that one click is only to make it absolutely perfectly in line. You can still hit something smaller than a dime at 15 yards with it if it's one click off out of sighting. So it's a great scope. This scope has target turrets on it instead of the kind of sighting knob that you have to unscrew the cover, then turn this little plastic or metal box thing that's really hard on the fingers and is annoying to have to unscrew the cover every time. Also with this, you can know how much you're adjusting it, and it has ranges marked on it, like 100 yards. You'll know how far to put it for 100 yards. You see this little part down here. You have to loosen that to turn the knob, and what that does is it actually locks the knob in place so it will not move. That's probably why this takes the recoil so well. This scope is a variable power scope from 3 to 12 power. On 10 power, you can use the mil-dot reticle to estimate range. All you do is you need to know how big the target is in meters, and then you times that by 1,000. Then you divide that by the size of the target in mils, and the mils are the space between the little dots on the crosshairs. And if you do that equation, it'll tell you your range in meters. This scope has a side wheel parallax adjustment. It's a lot more comfortable than having to turn a knob on the front lens, and you can use that also to estimate range at closer ranges. All you have to do is the knob has ranges marked on it from 10 yards to infinity, and whatever you have it set on, if it's the clearest image at that range, that means that's about how far away the target is. This scope comes with flip open lenses. They're a little bit stiff at first, and even after quite a bit of usage, you have to push quite hard to get them open, but they stay on the front of the scope and the back of the scope really well, and the recoil won't make them fall off like some other scopes will. The scope that I had before this, the front lens cover had to be taken off when you're shooting, because after 3 or 4 shots it fits so loosely that it would fall right off. And the scope was an alright scope, but it had some problems, like I said, and this scope is much more accurate, takes the recoil much better, and because of that you can get way better groups. If you decide to buy this scope, you should keep in mind that the objective lens is 44 millimeters in diameter, which is quite a large lens. And because of that, you need to buy high mounts, or else the mounts won't be tall enough to attach the scope to the rails, because the objective lens will be in the way. So these are accushot rings I bought from PyramidAir.com, which is also where I got this scope. And they're solidly built, and the screws don't loosen up or anything. You don't even need to put Loctite on them, and they stay just fine. So they're good mounts too. This is just to show the accuracy of this gun with the scope on it. This is 2 shots, and this is 2 shots. This is 3 shots all in the 10 ring. This is another 3 shots all in the 10 ring. This is 4 shots in the gray. This is 2 shots, and that's 2 shots. And believe it or not, that's 3 shots. So this is a much more accurate scope than the other scope I used for the review of this rifle. It's a really good scope, and I highly recommend it to anyone who's buying a scope. It's not a terribly expensive scope. It's about $125 American plus shipping and handling. but it's well worth it because this is the best scope I've ever owned.